Hi folks, this is just a little video about Tabletop Simulator, one of the games on Steam Games, and it is on special until the 9th of July still at 50% off. So if you're watching this video before then, it might be worth getting it if you are interested. But I just wanted to explain and show a little bit about the game because I find this quite fascinating. So as it says there, it's the only simulator where you can let your aggression up by flipping the table. Well, yeah, that's true. So you can actually do it during a game or after the game. And you can actually switch it off as well if you don't want people to flip it while you're busy, in group play or anything. But I think the thing that's actually for me very interesting is the next part there. There are no rules to follow. Just you, a physics sandbox, and your friends. Make your own game and play how you want to. Unlimited gaming possibilities. So I'll unpack that a little bit, but just to say there are some scripted games, in other words, where you click or you do this, something else happens, and it can apply rules and things. But generally speaking, if you're playing a game of cards or snakes and ladders or whatever the case is, you can cheat as if you were in a normal game. You could put down 2 cards or hide this or flip that or whatever the case is. So it's actually interesting that it's literally is like sitting around a table with your friends and playing. You can change the rules if you want to. So certain rummy card games, for example, exclude the jokers. So in my case, when I was younger, we had the joker as a wild card, and it could be any other card and you could replace it. So if you feel that's the way you're going to play the game, you play it that way. Yeah, I think that in itself makes it very, very interesting. In these times of COVID-19 with social distancing, it makes it now fairly easy for you to either play games with your friends, your family on the other side of the world, or you can go into things like Discord, and there's a channel there, for example, for Tabletop Simulator, where you could ask for anybody else to join you and play. There's also a way of getting to the servers within the game. You can join a multiplayer game and look at what servers are currently running at the moment and join those games, or you can create one yourself, which I've done for my own family in it. And then right at the end of this video, I will close out actually showing you just a short game that I had with my daughter on Snakes and Ladders. So yeah, this is the main screen on Steam itself, overwhelmingly positive ratings. The other interesting part is, let's just have a look before we actually look at the game itself. I just want to go to the community hub over here and show you how expandable this game actually is. You'll see, okay, at the moment, you can just see there are 3,977 people in game at the moment. So yes, it's not running into millions, but people are play for many, many hours actually. There's the special that's on at the moment for the downloadable content. So when you get the game, you do buy the game. It's a nominal amount. I can't remember what exactly it is. It's something like $5 or $6 or $7 or something. And there is some downloadable content you can purchase, which is off at the moment. But, have a look first whether you actually want any of that. I didn't actually choose any of that because it wasn't something that I was really going to be playing. But what I wanted to show here though is there's a workshop portion in Steam. So in the workshop portion, this is now the extendable part where players and friends and other people have basically produced their own games and shared it with other people. And the interesting stat here, if I can just find it, this is sorted at the moment on the most popular items in the past week. There is ways of changing this to the last month, the last year, and of all time. But have a look at this. So these are games that other users and players have actually produced. And what you'll see is interesting is this part at the bottom. Look here. See all 36,727 items. So they're not all games, obviously. So if you look on the right-hand side here, these are sort of some of the categories of items that have been produced. Some of them are just scripting, automated scripting, particle effects, animations, lighting, sounds, components, backgrounds, dice, cards, tables and props. And some of that obviously is games as well. But the point I'm trying to say here is that there's a lot of other things inside the game. So you can change the backgrounds, items, all that sort of thing. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. There is a very good tutorial to run, and these are sort of some of the stats on the category of games themselves. So we've got over 12,000 card games, 16,000 board games, strategy games, role-playing games. So yes, you'll find variations of Dungeons and Dragons and lots of other tabletop games in here. So remember, this is a general simulator. it's not one game you're buying, or it's not reliant on 5 or 6 games. It's an endless amount of content that is produced for all sorts of games, whether it's dice or cards or puzzles or whatever the case is. So even puzzles, you can actually upload your own images, and then you can say how many pieces you want and you play it. Then you can also change these to order of subscribed or the most recent games as well. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the point is there's a tremendous amount of games. I think if you go to see all, I think you'll get the other sorting. Yeah, here we go. So here you can now sort by most subscribed, or you can say most popular, and now you can choose by just today, this week, 6 weeks, a month, or all time. So that's how you'll change that. And if you wanted to see what a game is about, you can either just do the quick view like that and see, or you can actually click into the game and it'll open up, usually with photos. It depends on the quality of what's being produced, but they'll give you a bit of a description about it. So if you want to now play this inside your tabletop simulator, all you have to do within the workshop is click on subscribe or unsubscribe, and it'll be added to the game, and I'll show you in the game where you can access it. But it's as easy as that. There's no manual installations or copying of files or unzipping of things or downloading from some other site. In many cases, the stuff is available already in Steam on the workshop. It literally is just click to subscribe and you can go play. So I think that makes it fairly easy for most people to play. The other thing I can just mention as well is on the downloadable content, or as same will go for the games, only one person, if it's paid content that is, only one person needs to actually have bought and owned that game, just like a real board game. If I bought a game of Monopoly, then I can invite even my friends to come around and play. They don't each have to buy a Monopoly game before they can play with me. So the same applies here for Tabletop Simulator. And again, I just like that approach. The whole feel of this thing is actually very, very nice, I must say. I've been quite enjoying it. So I've played quite a bit on my own, single player like solitaire and that sort of thing, but you can, like I said, you can join other people and play multiplayer games just as easily. So I think without further ado, let's jump into just having a look at what the game looks like when you start it up. And then, as I said, we'll end off with the video of me and my daughter's game that we played together. Right, so here we are now. We've just started the game up. And you'll see on the left hand side here is the chat. So you have got a global chat. This is literally everybody in the game at the moment worldwide. So this will also be a quick place if you want to ask somebody, do you want to join me for a game, or do you want to play, or whatever the case is over there. That is just system feedback from when you've loaded or installed things or anything that happens. And if you start a game, you'll see over here it'll show game, and that'll be your in-game chat. And whenever you're chatting, you'll be able to talk to the people that are in the game. This is obviously through text chat at the moment. So that's where you're going to go to join a game, and that's when you're going to go to create or start a game. So this join over here will be to join somebody else's game. But let's have a look also then just at some of the configuration and settings. These are just some of the animation issues and things if you're flipping cards and doing certain things like look speed. But if you hover over it, it does give you information there as to what actually every setting is for. You can actually change this in-game, I think, if I remember correctly, as well. So it's not a train smash. You can play with it a bit and see how it affects things. Threading, portraits. For example, this one now is when you're sitting at a table, it can show the avatars if you're using, say, faces or whatever else you're using, but it also helps you recognize who's sitting around the table or who's sitting on the opposite side of a table. So all those little details are in there. The normal thing really for graphic settings here, and sound as well. You'll see there is settings over here for voice chat. You can have toggle settings or push to talk while you're in the game, and that makes it again more natural, like you're sitting there talking to your friends around the table really. You can choose which microphone to use, and like I said, whether you press a button or whether you're going to toggle it on and off to talk. So some people might just leave it on, for example. On the control side, nothing really very fancy, but generally these buttons are used to move around the view, left, forward, or up or right when you're sitting at the table. This is the left mouse button just to grab. You can configure and change any of these, of course. If you're going to use quite a lot to flip cards, Then we've also got, I'm not actually sure tap, I haven't actually used that yet. Tap and raise, I haven't really had need to use it. Blindfold is another feature. So you can also use this game, interesting enough, on the same computer with one or two people as well, as a matter of interest. You can change turns, and it allows for you to look, finish, and so on. But blindfold is actually things that people are, for virtual players, it brings down a sort of a shutter or a curtain that if other people need to do things on the table, you can see if everybody's blindfolded, and then they can take their blindfolds off. So they've allowed for all this sort of natural, type of interaction you'd have really if you're playing. Then you could zoom in and out, panning, magnifying. Nudge is also quite a useful one. I think somewhere here, let me just have a look quickly. There's the text chat. Just hit return. You can hide your hand. Role-playing modes. There's the camera views. And then you can also script various commands in as well if you want to program a few things. So I think they really do allow quite a lot. The one I just wanted to mention as well is Q and E is used to rotate, depending on how much you've set the rotation by. I don't know where Q and E is now at the moment. Did I miss it? Anyway, Q and E is also buttons that are set. If you need to rotate cards slightly, oh, there we go, rotate left or right. So these things will work for various objects. You just position your mouse over it, and if you hit F, it'll flip. If you hit Q or E, it'll rotate. So that's basically how you use those keys. And then on the interface side, again, you can switch on and off, just various things that you see on the screen as well. It does also make allowance for virtual reality, Oculus Rift and similar. So then in that case, if you were playing, you'd be literally looking left and right at the players you're sitting around the table with. You can change your pointers. You can have different types of visual modes, themes. There's the VR settings. Just to give you an idea. I haven't got VR goggles yet, unfortunately, so I'm not able to show any of that. But you can see from this, there's quite a lot of settings you can set. And I mean, just imagine that. Now you've got sound. You can look left and right. Avatars, it gets quite interesting. Okay, I haven't blocked anybody, but you can also block people. This is if people are hassling you while you're in online games, etc. Then you'd use this sort of mechanism to actually just block them. It doesn't happen again. So I think they've given attention to all the detail I can think of. There is the tutorial, and that'll just take you through the basic movements, how to lift cards and turn objects and pick things up and throw the table and that sort of thing. Credits for the game, and that's where you're going to exit the game. So I'm not going to do join at this stage, but let me show you on create. If you click on create, you could go and play a single game, or that is where you'd click to go to multiplayer. You'd create a server which you could make public or private as well by invite. And the hot seat is the one I mentioned just now, where you share one computer with 2 or 3 people to play a multiplayer game, and it'll allow for switching of turns without people seeing, for example, your hand of cards. So, again, if you don't have a board game, if you don't have a set of cards, for example, this game provides that for you as well. So, 36,000 plus games. I mean, who's going to store 36,000 board games and sets of cards? So let's just go into single player. So this menu over here is basically telling you really, do you want to choose one of the classic games? These all come with standard. When you buy the game, these are the ones you've got by default. Backgammon, Jigsaw, checkers, cards, dominoes, poker, reverse eye, etc. So as I said with the Jigsaw one, in this case, you're going to pick the file from your hard drive that you want to use, the image, and you will just say I want 180 pieces or I want 80 pieces. Let me just take, say, for example, a quick 20, and I can just show you. Say import, and there's the pieces. So now what I meant was, if you take the piece like that, you drag it. You can press F to flip, which is pretty meaningless in this case, but you can press Q and E to rotate it. And that's how you'd rotate it into the correct position then and put it wherever it's supposed to go. Now, I've done this puzzle once or twice already, but yeah, so there's an easy one, I suppose, is the bottle. you'd put it there like that. And that's essentially how jigsaw puzzles are going to work. So in this case, like I said, whatever images you've got, you can just load up and you've got a different puzzle every time. And if you want something more challenging, go for the 180. So that's Jigsaw, and as I said, you can cheat. I mean, you can put pieces in places they're not supposed to go, because it's a manual type game. So it's up to you to play it right. I can also just show you, that's the sort of the view. It's showing me the puzzle. I'm playing on my own at the moment, so if I go around, you'll see there's me. That's what other people would see. And the background is a 360-degree photograph, and you can also replace those. So you could use any 360-degree photo that you get off the internet, or in my case, I've got a couple of my own, and you'll see that also in the video near the end. We're basically sitting in the Cedarburg on a gravel road and playing. That's how you get back to the games menu. Objects is, if you've got an existing game on the go, you could have saved some objects, or for example, even other backgrounds, and you can choose a different background. Now we're sitting in a field. So this won't replace the game, it adds to the existing game. And you could, for example, even though this is a puzzle game, you could say, well, I want a standard deck of cards as well. Whoops. Or boards, or pieces, or tools. So these little tools like the calculator, even the tablet here, it actually works. It does Google search and does things. So if you need to look something up in a game, you can put this on the table as well and use it to play with. In fact, I'll show you now when I get to that part. You can choose different tables, standard ones, and obviously also third-party tables. I've saved a couple of objects here. So if I take, for example, the calculator, and well, the music player also plays, by the way. It plays MP3 music while you're busy playing. So let's just go there. I'll close this. Don't ask again. I'm not too sure what that was there. Okay, let me just get to there. Okay, some of these objects are not draggable. Okay, this one is draggable. If that's a problem, you can right click on any object in this game and you can toggle various things. So I can just click that off and say no, it's drag collectible. You can save the object, you can change color, tint, physics, flip it, rotate it. So if you forget some of your shortcuts, you can also use these over here. But there we go. Just want to change. So if I zoom in, now I'll use the A and D key just to move right. And you'll see if I click over there, you can actually, it works. So it's just like having a tablet sitting with you in the game. Or for example, it could have been a calculator. So on the calculator, you can go 112 plus 6. Oh, sorry, is this thing on? Oh, there we go. Got to switch it on. 12 plus 6 equals 18 minus 5. And there you go. And again, remember, all the keys work. So if you use the Q and the E, you can also rotate it. On the card side, if you just quickly go to the card pack, it'll drag off one card like that. Okay, and then you could use F to flip it, or Q and E if you wanted to move it. If you pause over it for a few seconds and you long press, it'll actually move the whole pack. And then you've also got certain things like shuffle. You can cut, split, and various other things with the cards as well. So yeah, it's very much, like I said, it's like using a table. You can then also switch on and create a playlist of music if you want to. And again, remember, if you're multiple players, you can all listen to the music. There's a notebook here where, okay, I think these are locked at the moment, but many games that you install will, if you click on the notebook, they'll have a lot of the rules here, just telling you how the game works and how you need to play it. And you can change to different colors and add colors, and you can type your own notes in there as well. Bottom over here is also a notebook, a transparent one. I think my daughter said she could see what I was typing in here, so this is probably a reference for the game. And you'll see there it's transparent. So there's that. And here you can go to options, information about the game itself. You can change the name and complexity and various other things if you want to there. There's server information. This is where you'd go if you're going to set up multiplayer with friends. I'm on single player at the moment, but I could change. If I'd come in on multi, it would have been. And then you can either be public, friends, people that you friended who can automatically join the game, or just those that you invite to the game. And obviously if it's public, you can set a password as well. You can set a maximum up to 8, and you can say whether you are looking for players or not. So it's very sociable. Yeah, these are permissions over here. So this is where I said you could turn off. People can't flick the table over. They can't nudge. They can't do various things. The grid is actually the room that you're really in. Oh, sorry. I think the grid is actually for what's on the table. It's how you can move things and snap things on the table, and whether you're going to show lines. There you go. And what color the lines are, thickness, whether they snap center, offsets, that sort of thing. So it's really for just moving things around on the game. Then the lighting effects, you can change lighting effects and shadow and intensity and apply loot filters. This is also obviously for custom backgrounds and other things. You want to make it look really realistic. Physics here, you can adjust physics, and you can adjust things like gravity and the playing area. That's obviously the playing area around the table itself, how far things can move or fall. And you can have negative gravity where things are floating upwards or floating away. So you can play games in zero gravity in the space station if you want to. You can change hands holding the objects. That's the hand you can see there moving around. You can have turn-based play on automatically as well. Basically, this will just help you keep track of it's now so-and-so's turn. So you can see I've got it switched off at the moment. But if you wanted to have turns at least monitored and kept track of, that's the way you turn it on. And game keys. I'm actually not too sure what the game keys were. It might have been for unlocking paid content, actually. So let me just check something else on the objects here. So anything else I wanted to show? Oh, yes, if you were wondering, you can't drink the Coke and the coffee. Those things just stand on the tables. But there is a counter as well. So with a counter, what's quite useful is if you need to count and keep track of things, you can put it on the table and press the plus or the minus and press C for clear, just to keep track of things. These biscuit boxes and certain things are just things that I'd put on, because you can resize all of these objects as well quite easily. But the idea would actually be, this is actually for counters, so you use that, and these will actually be counters you move on games. It's just sort of clever little devices people had invented. The same thing with the donuts over here. No, the banana doesn't really do anything, so all you can do is you can flip the banana or move it around. But as I said, there's tons and tons of these little objects. Very nice, interesting things to play with. Let's just have a look before I get to flipping. Okay, the mods is obviously where you would upload to the workshop, and you've got a cloud manager of what you've uploaded. So I've uploaded, so if you want to play a multiplayer game and you want to share music, background and other things with other players, you can't have that just sitting on your hard drive. You'll see when you install any object as well, it'll ask you, do you want to put it into the cloud or not? And yes, so the cloud is your little bit of storage in their cloud, which will be used then to share the backgrounds and the objects and so on. These are the commands just to exit the game or to resume. You can go to configuration quickly over there. You can browse the server for games that are on the go. Oh, I was busy searching there, sorry. So these just show you some of the games that are actually on the go at the moment around the world. And you can filter quickly on friends games. Okay, there's normally a good couple of 100 games at any time. You can sort also there. So for country, for example, China, Great Britain, Japan, Netherlands, Russia. And I know when I looked in South Africa, for example, last time, there was about 3 or 4 or 5 games also on the go. In many cases, it may be closed games. It may be for friends or family. You can see how many games, who's hosting. You can sort by game as well if you wanted to go and look for There's a couple of Dungeons and Dragons games on the go at the moment in, where would that be? Australia? Yeah, Australia. There we go. There's card games. So yeah, if you've got a particular type of game you like World of Warcraft, there's that. The Settlers, okay, and you've got also by server and so on as well. So that's where you'll go. Yeah, there's a help as well there. There's just, this is the lift height off the table, or when you're holding the items, how high will they be off the table? And this is your rotation degree I talked about earlier. Mine is set for 15 degrees to move things left, right, but I mean, you can choose more radical rotations. Then let me just see what else is there. Oh yes, this stuff on the left I haven't used very much. It's just to change physics. This was actually really, I think, more for the customizing of various things you're going to produce, and then to upload. You can upload to the Steam Workshop as well. But the one I do use quite a bit is Flick sometimes. So Flick is often used for pool games and snooker and those type of things. And basically you will be, let me just see, if you click something. Oh, no. Oh, there we go. It produces this sort of little, how can I put it? What is it? An arrow. Yes, an arrow, but it's a, yeah, like a pool cue. You know, you can look at the direction you want to flick something in and the strength you want to flick it in. So it doesn't have to be a ball. It could be anything. It could be, in this case, the cards. It could be the banana. And you'll see that's how the physics work, really. So this is one you will use sometimes. There are certain things you need to flick on the table. I mean, you could, instead of rolling a dice or other things, you could flick the objects as well. You know, just flick them across the table and roll them. So yeah, that's basically the game interface, really, as much as I can show it. What I'll just show you quickly is, let's just flip this table and you can just see what it looks like with all the objects on it. Oh, I've still got the grid displaying at the moment, but there basically everything is going. That's flip, really. Nothing really particularly fancy. And then I just want to show the rest of this menu. So this is now where you go to the classic games, as I've said already. Let me just go back to hand. The DLC will be the downloadable content that you can purchase optionally with the game or at any point. So you could go here and it'll take you to a Steam Workshop to buy. But this is where you'll go to downloadable content. Then you've got workshop items. So everything that you've downloaded from the workshop, like I said earlier, where you've clicked to subscribe, all these things were games that I've already taken, or objects in some cases as well. Here's objects, there's battleships, pool, this tabletop mini golf's quite a lot of fun as well. There's Scrabble, Jenga, yeah. So there's quite a lot of games. This is where you'll go, and again you'll just click. If you just click on the game, it's going to start it as a new game. As I understand it, I think the additive load will load it in addition to an existing game. So you could take two card games and load them together if if something of use that you needed to do. And then the last part is just save and load. So these are games that I've already saved that I was busy playing, and I can just continue these games again if I want to. When you are saving the game, you can save it either as an overwrite and just replace an existing game, or you can expand, or you can do additive load. Sorry, this is in case of loading the game. That will be to save the game I'm currently playing over this game. And the additive load will be to just add it in addition. So this is where you'd merge it in with an existing game. And yeah, that's sort of pretty well much the interface. I can just show you then as well with the downloadable content. If I take, I'm going to show you Snakes and Ladders in a few seconds. So I just wanted to load a game here from the workshop just to show you basically how you'll play it. I can take this Scrabble over here. I think I've played this one already. I'll say load. Okay, this is what the board looks like. So this game already comes preset with score sheets that you can write on. It's got a little clock over there just giving you the time, and it's got the Scrabble pieces. So this is my corner of a table at the moment. So what will happen is, if I have to deal out the pieces. You'll see now what happens if I put it into my, this is my hand area over here. And obviously I could deal them out as well to whoever's sitting at, I think at the other side of the table over there. You'll see I can't see their pieces. So that area is normally hidden. What will happen now is if I press F to flip, you'll see while you're playing the game, you can also move the mouse down, and this is basically what you're holding in your hand at the moment. And you can take a piece and you can put it on the table. And obviously no one else is going to be seeing this. So that's basically how you'll put things in your hand and hold them and play them. And if it's a piece I'm taking off the table, same thing. I can take it just to there. And you can move, being Scrabble, you can move your little pieces around to try and make up your words. You use the same technique also to move your cards that you're holding in your hand. It'll be exactly the same into different suits. So yeah. The other thing is if somebody does flip the table or something else has happened and you need to rewind, you can actually also go over here to rewind back. It's quite useful because sometimes you've got a lot of people around. Somebody bumps something or knocks a piece over. I mean, and that happens in real life. You throw the dice across the table and it knocks two of the counters over onto the wrong blocks. You can just quickly click rewind, and it'll rewind a short while back to before the dice was actually thrown. And that's how you can recover from little problems like that. So yeah, that's basically it. That is the interface. And what I'm just going to then finish this video off with is just a short demo of a real-time game that I had with my daughter. We were playing Snakes and Ladders, so I'm going to edit it a little bit. It's not the full game, but just to give you a feel of how each of us throws the dice, moves, and what happens at the end. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video.